Sapphire PowerTools, a suite of products written by Sapphire to enhance the Sun Systems experience. You access the PowerTools through a shortcut on your Favourites menu called Sapphire PowerTools. You're then presented with a screen that shows all of the PowerTools written so far. We're going to take a look at Account Enquiry today. Now click on the Account Enquiry option and I'm presented with a range of selection criteria and an inquiry selector of default. We can see that the top choice is account code, and if I click in the drop down box I'm presented with a list of my account codes from Sun Systems. Alternatively, I can type in a range that may not exist just to give me a broad range of accounts. I can choose my periods. I have a drop down selection list for transaction date, journal numbers. My journal type is a multiple selection box, so I can choose to tick multiple journal types. I can select journal sources. I see a list of all of my analysis should I choose to include it, and again in the drop down lists I see the analysis codes that relate to each analysis dimension. Allocation reference and account name enables us a wildcard search to use percentages to search for the string or a full string or part string of an account name. Should you determine that this criteria doesn't show you enough information or allow you to select things in the order that you would prefer, we have the ability to come to settings to enable the maintenance mode, and then we can choose to include or exclude items of data from our search. We might decide that we want to see allocation as one of our selection criteria. We might decide that we want to move the department code up so it appears nearer the top of our selection search, and then we may decide to exclude the remainder of the analysis. We can then save this as a query with a criteria name of department search perhaps, and we can determine whether or not it's visible for just us or our entire operator group. If I click on save and change the drop down box here, now I see my own selection criteria. It's available across each of the Sun business units or databases and across the actuals and the additional budget ledgers. Once I'm happy with my criteria search, I can come and click on next, and I'll be returned with a grid layout of all data that is available within that entity. By default, the system is set to return 5,000 records, and it's telling me here that there are 26,000, and I'm going to ask it to get those records anyway. The default settings can be altered by the administrator to include more rows should that be a requirement. The data is returned in a grid format. So that returned all 26,000 rows in a grid format, and we can see we have various columns of information here. We can right click and we can choose to sort on the columns that we're in. We can also go down and we can choose to display columns by ticking or unticking the columns that we wish to see, and we have an export facility to take the data out to somewhere such as Excel. We have the ability to click on any one of the columns to group by that column, and we can subgroup by adding multiple layers, and that would give us drop downs to enable us to see account code 11,000 and all the subsequent periods underneath it. When you want to remove those, you just click and drag them back down into the columns. You have the ability to change the column sort order, so to move stuff further across where it may be more or less relevant. And we also have the ability, should we want to freeze panes in a similar way to Excel, which enables us to freeze the first few planes there, and I can just scroll across and see data that's relevant to me. Anywhere where we see a hyperlink, we have the ability to drill down, and an additional tab will be opened for us, and we will be able to see information that relates solely to that item that we've drilled down on. So account code 11,000, and then we have the same search functionalities. We have the ability to save our current grid layout, and that means that the data would be presented to us in that format at all times, and then we can export and print the data. Or we can go back to our selection and change the selection criteria and begin our search again. That's account inquiry.